So what I'm gonna do tonight, I got a piece of walnut here, and we're gonna attempt to get a body similar to this right here. This is persimmon. The proportions, I like the proportions of this snowman's body a little bit better than this one. And then this one here, I really haven't messed up. And this one here, I cut apart, and this actually glued back together to get the more of a squash look to it. So that's what, and then if we got time, you want, I'll chuck this one up and do a layout where I do the eyes, drill all the holes, and this is all done, filled in with the epoxy, and two-part epoxy, and I just put a little acrylic paint in, not very much, and that's where I get the color for the buttons and the eyes. And then, of course, the pipe is turned, and it's got a little 1/8 inch dowel rod in it. The nose is, I think that's Purdue, something like that, contrasting wood I have in my shop. And I always like to make my hats separate from the body. And then I'll cut my head or sand the head so I get a hat perfect cylinder just straight. And then I always tell my wife to put her mad money in here so I can find it. It's always empty. I don't understand. Let's see here. The first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and I'm going to turn in this area here, and I'm going to start working and making this portion of the body. And once I get a little bit of that made, I'll probably take these calipers and I'm going to get across here on the diameter of this, so I can take and transfer that diameter here and to get an idea of how much I'm going to take off to squish down to give it a little bit more of a squish look, squash look, like you stack two snowballs on top of one another. We're going to attempt it. I'm going to put the schmuck on.
Are you chucked on that, or how are you holding that?
The what?
How are you holding the work?
Oh, okay. Well, I've done, this one was turned between centers. And they want to slip. So what I've done is I take them on my lathe, I'll chuck it between centers, and I'll flatten this over here. Okay? Then I'll take my drill press and I drill out a hole. And that's what I've got here is a hole drilled out that my chuck can fit into. So you'll have to proportion it to your chuck. On my robust, I don't have a bit big enough. So what I do is when I flatten this in, I turn so much, and then I've got a tool to do my dovetail. And then what's left that I can't reach up underneath my live center, then I drill that out with my drill press. And then I can reverse it around and I can chuck it up. That way I've got the chuck to drive this, and this isn't slipping while I'm trying to turn the body. That good enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know you had a hole there.
But if you don't have that or don't have the capability to fix it up, then just turn it between centers. And
you could put a screw chuck in.
Yes, you could. You could do that also. That would work real good.
Yeah, I thought that was
And that might save you some time.
The hollowing with the mortar stuck through the whole middle of it, and that's going to get rid of the pit too. Because those things will crack big time, a wind turn.
Do you do anything to ensure that you're making a ball, or do you just eyeball it all?
Do you ever see a snowball perfect spear? Okay. I've never made one. So I don't care, just as long as it kind of looks like a squishy snowman up there. Like I said, I've made 4 or 5 of them, and I haven't made 2 of them alike yet. That's got about a 6-inch diameter on it. And I've got 2, 3, 6 would be up there, but if I cut that 4, that's going to be pretty close. I'm going to take this, I'm going to come up here and turn this down, and we're going to use this about the size of the second ball, and I'll start turning it into here. I think, most of the time I don't use all the wood that I've got here. I've always got extra up here, so, it depends on how big a diameter you wind up with. Where the cedar, I had a little more wood to work with than what I got with the walnut to get down to the contrast I wanted. Like on the cedar, I tried to save a little bit of the white on the bottom part, and I use that like the back end. And this one here will have a little bit of discolored wood in the bottom part, and then we should just get into the nice color of the walnut. And the long thing about it, if you don't like it, turn it down a little bit more and shape it again. Any questions? It's a little shorter, it's closer to this here, but I brought the body down, I got it a squished look to it. Now I'll start refining it a little bit more. And I'm gonna save this piece for a hat for this one later.
The one trick I started doing, trying to turn into Snowman too, is the very first one I did, it looked like each segment of the snowman was like its own ball. And it didn't really look packed together. But then what I started doing is you actually kind of project the ball one into the other. So when you're thinking about that initially, because it's really easy to cut that too deep and too wide to begin with. So if you get that picture in your mind of each ball kind of going into the one beyond it, to me, that just helps you visualize to get that ball together.
I'm shooting now. Mark right there. Like I said, tried to hook up I think this one will turn out pretty good. It has more of the swoosh look that this has. Like I said, I haven't turned two of them alike yet. Anybody have any questions about what I've done? Pretty simple, straightforward turning.
Do you ever think about taking the very top section and leaving the tenon on there to put the hat on?
Do what now?
On your very top section, do you ever think about
Okay.
putting a tenon on there?
Let me go a little further now.
Okay.
All right. With my drill press, I drill as much out of the center as I can of these.
Oh, okay.
That way, if they're not completely dry, which that is not, and this was seasoned for over a year, but it still had moisture because it's set outside.
Right.
So you can see it's been sitting inside for about drying in that hot shop of mine for a week and a half, and it's not cracked real bad. You take that, I drill out whatever I can.
Okay.
Now, if I could take and chuck this up on my lathe and put my steady rest on it and had drilled it that way too, but I got my drill press, so I just go right over there and drill it. And what I do is, I'll take and, while this is still pretty flat here, I'll clamp this with one of my clamps, and I'll turn this upside down. I drill so far through the bottom, and then I come up here. Usually I have to get a smaller drill bit, and then I'll drill down so far, and then it only reach like this one. It wouldn't go all the way through. I only had so much. And then I got a long bit that's about 1 inch in diameter, and then I'll drill down as far as I can. It takes most of the wood out, and it keeps it from splitting so bad.
Oh, okay.
But I try to get some of it out of it. Yes.
Okay.
But usually I do that. Like right now, I've got this done, and you do that. Then I'll remount this and sand it like this. I'll let dry a little bit out because it's still green, so sand easier. And then when I remount this, since you got that, you can go right back to the chuck. And then I use I just jam this in to keep it steady so I can sand on it.
Okay.
And then I found I like to leave my bases a little bit thicker. You can see the different sizes of the bases and the look on, And I kind of have a tendency to like a little thicker like that, especially if it's just standing up. If you're going to put it by the fireplace mantle or something like that. Any other questions? Dude, you want to see how I lay out the buttons in that? It's kind of a freehand thing. It's I usually lock it. You want me to remount that one and show you how I mount that back up and do it, or you want to see it? All right. Because this is basically, I got some other tools and I don't have them with me. I clean this up just a little bit better, not much more than that, and just a lot of power sanding. I sanded this down today, blocked in on so I could do the drill the holes in the buttons. I forgot my chuck key. Normally, I get them pretty close where I don't have that. But I went, because of the diameter, I think this looks better. And then I'll use that piece that's left here to make this hat. Now, to answer your question, you see the tenon on that one?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit smaller than the hole that my drill bit drills in that. So if I used a different size, like this is a different one, so because I hollowed that too with a drill bit.
Okay.
But this here, I could chuck up into my chuck. I could chuck this into my chuck, and that's how I turn my hat and everything.
Okay.
And then I'll take it out, because I always turn it flat, and then I can drill this down. Or you can drill this down prior to turning it too. but I don't drill it until after I get my shape in case I want to do something different.
Okay.
Should have brought my gun back.
It'd be better if we had.
I got enough room. Oh, yeah. All right, like I said, I'm going to use this for the back end because I like the white exposed in the rear end. So let's see, get my locking key out. That's off. So I'll take that and I'll try to rotate that down below that. That didn't work. Oh, I got the wrong piece. This is not what I want. Keith, you got any idea where the, that's not it. That's the eating piece.
It should be in the tool thing over there.
What tool thing?
That caddy on the side there, it should be there.
It is, it's behind the small.
Oh, okay, here it is. I see it. That's what I'm at. Ah, that's not. That slides in like that. That's a little different. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. There it is. Yeah, that's close enough. No change. This, I should have brought my longer tape measure. Something straight down. I lock that in position, and then what I'll do is I'll try to get dead center up here. I'm going to rotate. This has got a knot right here, and I'd really like the buttons to be right in here. I should brought my other tool. Straight. This Snowman may not have real good buttons on him.
Now, is that where you want the buttons, on the broken side, opposed to the broken,
I want them because it's the way I'm orientating the grain. If you look at the grain, I like how the grain is. If you look at this, it almost looks like it splits. It goes this way and this way, like a coat does. It kind of splits the grain. You kind of want to look at your grain pattern on your piece. And then, okay, where did I set that thing again? Let's take a look. Let's take that. I don't trust memory. Okay, we got 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 3 looks good on that. So I'm going to use 3 buttons. So this looks about like center. So I'll put that as center. And buttons will look a good 1 inch apart. That's just my perspective. So then what I'll do, since I made them 1 inch apart, I'll come back down here. This is 4 inches, looks good. Right about like that. 1, 2, 3. Nope, I don't like that. Nope. Shut them off a 1/2 inch. Do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I got the nose. When I do the nose, I try to get it just a little past center of the head. And that's kind of, you can kind of eyeball that too, because I never stick a nose perfect in there. And this would be about center, so I would drill that hole for the nose right about here. And then we always want to set the eyes above it, and they're a little bit bigger than the buttonholes. And we've already spread 1 inch, so we're going to go. These eyes will look probably right there. About, let's see what 3/4 looks like. That ain't working. Drill that nose right there. That'll be the eyes. After I get done drilling this and epoxying it, it gets sanded again because you're going to make a mess. All right. Well, I got laid out for the eyes and 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. Now let's see. We got the nose, so we need to do the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. I kind of freehand that in too. That's going to be. Drill there. Okay, that brings it over, right over, even pretty close to the eye. Okay, that should do. That one's not over far enough. That looks better. Okay. Like I said, this hole will be 1/8 because I use a 1/8 dowel rod, and I do turn this little pipe thing and put the dowel rod into that. When I turn the nose, I turn a tenon on the back of it, and I'll drill this here would be drilled the same as the mouthpieces here, so I have a thicker tenon. And I believe I gotta not remember. believe that was 1/4 inch. Yes, that'll have a 1/4 inch. And I freehand drill these. I'll just take that and get that pretty well in the center of that. A little bit deeper. You don't need to drill out a lot, because you drill a lot out, you're putting a lot of epoxy in there. Just enough. You look at this, it's about a 1/16 inch deep. Because you want that epoxy, you'll have to keep working it until it starts stiffening up, so it'll stay up in there so it don't flow out. And that way you got enough to sand off later. You'll find that it can be a pain doing it. Unless you come up with something different, you know, you have a different, that's good. And his mouth may not be perfect, but it's not a perfect world. Okay, now the nose, I'm going to drill that hole for that nose now. And I turn it up, I try to come out of the Snowman. If you want the nose to lean down a little, you've got to turn your angle a little bit. Then you'll have to, if you do that, you're going to have to work with the back of when you turn that tenon on the back of that, you have to work with it. So the easiest way to do it, if you look at this, it almost fits flat. If you look how it sets, so that's how I like to drill mine to get that, make that nose easiest to fit in there. So I would drill that one. Then that should be enough for a good tenon in there. Now the eyeballs are a 1/2 inch. And you can see, if you look at them, you can see how they've sloped in a little bit. You come up and take a look at it later when I was filling them in. Sometimes when I do bigger, the eyeballs, I'll do them twice if I get too much of hollow and I don't like it. You could turn some little eyes. If you're a segmenter guy, you could probably turn all kinds of little pieces and make you put together a snowman. Let's see here. Usually I just put these on here. This is. Yeah, that should work. All right, we got one more hole to drill for the head, and that's for the pipe stem. That's 1/8. I got a 1/8 drill bit to do that with. And you may have to come back in later, ream it a little bit if your dowel rod don't fit in. I don't glue them in the pipe, because when I'm transporting them, if you glue it in, the other one I glued in, I hit it, broke it off, and I had to re-drill it. So I just drill it deep enough, and I make it so if I'm moving it, I can take it off. And then, as you can see, it's setting at an angle. So if we want him to draw out the side of his mouth, so it's leaning downward a little bit and off to the side. So it looks like that pipe is sticking out. So you want to kind of watch your angle, what you drill that hole there too. Just something I found with the few snowmen I've done. Now we'll drill the buttons, and then it's epoxy, and then sand her up, and hat. I wish I'd had the hat ready. We've done the hat too. All right. Now the buttons are, I'm doing a 3/16 for the button. And I got this little drill bit set, and that's what I've been using for these things. They look pretty good proportion, I think they do. So, oh, I didn't lay out the hands. You can put, the arms. This is a 1/4 inch hole drilled in here. And then these are just pieces off of a tree, limbs, whatever you think looks good for an arm and a hand. And if you break these, you just go out and get you some new ones. That was that knot. That is hard. Some stuff stuck in there. Surely, undoubtedly, I didn't hit something and ruin that. They're dull. Maybe not. I must have got that. I must have bumped the switch. That's why I wouldn't drill. It was in the wrong direction. A little deeper than what needs to be. Like I said, I usually leave it on here, leave it locked in here. I'll mix that putty up, and then I'll work it in here. It'll be slopped all over this, and then I take my power sander and I sand that excess off. It will fog it a little bit. You can see it isn't real shiny where it hit it. I don't know another way to do it. Unless you had some kind of, bought a little button or something, you could do that and probably glue them in there. But that is what does it look all right to you? What you can see of it?
Perfect.
Well, I didn't, if I'd had a hat section done, ready for it, I would have done a hat for you too. But that's going to be it. Any questions? All right.